Hey guys, what is going on? This is Wrestlelamia, back with another episode. Join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at the wildest wrestling news stories and rumors you need to know, including the latest Vince McMahon return rumors. Was the WWE looking to sandbag Mandy Rose? Does the WWE think Sasha Banks is overrated? Big plans for tonight's SmackDown? And more. Is someone out to get Vince McMahon? Topping today's news is the ongoing question of whether Vince McMahon is planning to return to the WWE and the question whether someone is out to get Vince McMahon. While McMahon has not officially stated he's returning to WWE, a recent Wall Street Journal story contained comments from McMahon associates hinting that's exactly what he intends to do. Diamond Dave raised a question that's been asked ever since McMahon's hush money scandal was broken by the Wall Street Journal. Another question that many in wrestling are asking and have been speculating since the start revolves around how the Journal has been getting this negative information on McMahon. Meltzer speculated, "It obviously has to be someone either on the board of directors or very close to the board to have the detailed knowledge of the anonymous letter from the former paralegal who McMahon had settled with that led to the first story." Meltzer analyzed the situation by asking who would benefit the most from McMahon's exit, listing Stephanie McMahon, Paul Levesque, and Nick Khan as three people with the most to gain. Fans and other analysts have hinted at the possibility of a power play, and as Meltzer mused, this latest story, the two potential civil lawsuits against Vince McMahon for sexual assault in the Wall Street Journal, emerged at the same time as rumors of McMahon wanting back into the WWE. Meltzer again questioned who would have access to the information that was apparently leaked to the Journal. It would have to be someone who had not just knowledge of the Chatterton lawyer letter, but the letter itself, since they had seen the letter, and knowledge of the details of the allegations by the former spa manager. Wrestlelamia agrees that there seems to be a little question if someone is looking to keep Vince out of the company he took to new heights. The only question now is how much Vince is willing to fight to regain control. Vince McMahon return posing potential problems. Vince McMahon's rumored quest to regain control of the WWE poses many problems, many of which Wrestlelamia covered in our website article on the reasons why Vince thinks he's returning and the reasons it won't happen. Dave Meltzer addressed another crisis McMahon maneuvering to regain control poses, that of stopping any sale of the WWE. Diamond Dave discussed the devilish details in this week's Observer. As long as McMahon is looking at returning, the company can't be sold. If the company is sold, he would have no power to return. His power is because he is both the largest shareholder in the company, and more importantly, the way his shares are determined as far as voting goes that he put together when the company went public to make sure he could never be voted out of power. You may recall that Wrestlelamia discussed the possibility of the WWE's board forcing a sale. However, as Meltzer notes, McMahon owned 37.6% of WWE as of this past summer, but because his stock is determined differently than other stock, he controls 80% of the voting power. That doesn't mean McMahon might not be forced to sell his shares, but even if that happens, any opposition by Vince could cause considerable damage to the company. Was WWE trying to sandbag Mandy Rose? Mandy Rose's unceremonious exit from the WWE remains a hot topic in wrestling, and now questions are being raised about whether the WWE was trying to leak a story that Rose wanted out of the company prior to her release. According to Fightful Select, there were some WWE sources that were released trying to leak that Mandy Rose had requested a release 2 weeks ago, but so far, we've not been given any indication that that's true. If accurate, it would suggest that WWE might have been trying to save face in releasing a popular superstar by suggesting that she wanted out in the first place. WrestleMania scenarios still being worked out. Has the WWE finalized its plans for WrestleMania 39? Not according to this week's Wrestling Observer newsletter, which reports, regarding stories that the WrestleMania card is finalized, we are told that there are multiple ideas for Mania cards in discussion, and every top act has multiple different things under discussion right now. There were a lot of reports this week regarding Lesnar versus Gunther, but that is far from finalized. As many fans know, the WWE likes to play its cards close to its vest, limiting information about its big shows and occasionally leaking disinformation to keep fans guessing. While the WWE may have a big match in the works, such as Lesnar versus Gunther, it may want to leave things open until closer to Mania in the event of an unforeseen injury, the availability of a bigger opponent, or a fan-driven change in booking. Regarding the rumors of Roman Reigns defending his world titles each night of WrestleMania, Diamond Dave continued, "As noted before, the idea of Reigns versus Rhodes one night and Dwayne Johnson another was talked about internally, but I don't expect that to happen either. But anything can happen because these things probably aren't going to be finalized for about 5 more weeks, depending on many different things such as final word on whether or not Johnson will or won't do the show, as well as other celebrities and the top spots that have to be adjusted based on that. It goes without saying that there will be some disappointed fans if The Rock is unable to wrestle, but the good news is that WWE still has wrestlers it hasn't sacrificed to the tribal chief. WWE superstars avoided appearing on recent Vince McMahon documentary. If you watched Vice's recent 9 Lives of Vince McMahon special, you probably noticed the absence of any active WWE superstars. Dave Meltzer discussed this when he spoke with the Fight Game podcast. Cageside Seats' Randall Ortman summed up the Meltz's musings. A lot of wrestlers wanted nothing to do with the project. There was a very big list of talent they wanted that they didn't get. That's because the talent in question did not trust that Vince will never come back to WWE. Wrestlelamia thinks it's unlikely the WWE would have let its wrestlers speak with Vice about such a delicate subject. It's well established that the WWE presents a sanitized version of the company's history, and it's doubtful they'd want anything to do with the expose of McMahon's sketchy past. WWE planning SmackDown shocker? Is the WWE planning a shocker for tonight's SmackDown? WWE Director of Long-Term Creative Rob Fee tweeted, "I wouldn't miss SmackDown this week. Don't say I didn't warn you." Fans are speculating that the shocker could involve Sami Zayn in the Bloodline, a follow-up to Jey Uso telling the honorary Uso last week to be prepared for Roman Reigns' appearance on SmackDown tonight. Another possibility is the ongoing storyline between LA Knight and Bray Wyatt. The WWE introduced a masked menace last week when Knight went to confront Wyatt, and fans are asking whether the WWE will introduce a member of the rumored, but not confirmed, Wyatt 6 faction. Believe it or not, some fans even believe that Ricochet will succeed in his quest to regain the Intercontinental Championship. The Future of Flight will finally get his Intercontinental Championship match against Gunther after winning the SmackDown World Cup. However, the idea of Gunther losing to Ricochet seems like a surefire way to sabotage the big man's monster push. It's also worth noting that the WWE is taping next week's edition of SmackDown due to the holiday season, so it'll be interesting to see whether they air any big angles, knowing the results will be leaked online by fans attending the show. Does the WWE think Sasha Banks isn't worth her asking price? Did Sasha Banks price herself out of returning to the WWE? And more importantly, does the WWE see her as much less of a star than she views herself? According to a report in this week's Observer, she was said to be seeking a number along the levels of Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair, and those internally have said she wasn't offered numbers close to that. According to Meltzer, Banks is not seen internally as someone who could be on top for the next 5 years, but is seen as someone who could get a singles or tag team title run, but has peaked as a star aside from the reality that was acknowledged that if she would return, there would be a honeymoon period where people would go nuts for her. It's difficult to tell whether WWE is spinning the idea that Banks isn't worth the same as Lynch or Flair as part of a strategy to lower Banks' asking price. At the same time, Banks has walked out on the WWE twice now, and that could be a major reason why the company feels she's not worth the money. Bayley talks bungled move with Bliss on Raw. Things got a bit dicey during the #1 contenders match between Bayley and Alexa Bliss on the 12th December Raw, with the two knocking each other silly. Bayley recently addressed the situation on Instagram, discussing what happened when Alexa went for a Hurricanrana, but it didn't go off right. "I was taking the move from the girl, Bliss, I was wrestling, and it kinda got wonky. It got wonky to the point where I lost my footing and we both landed on our heads. We weren't knocked out or anything, but we were like, that sucked and didn't look good." Bayley described how things only got worse. "We just tried to get back on the same page, but we didn't know where we were going after the botch. We were so flustered by it, she and I literally went for the same move, which made us collide heads again. I just had to give her a clothesline so we could regroup. I just said, alright, let's just stop and slow down a little bit." Fortunately, both wrestlers are veterans who know how to deal with the occasional mistimed move, and they were able to pull things together. Even more fortunate, no one seems to be worse for the wear after the match. Shotzi sidelined with injury. Last but not least, bad news for fans of SmackDown's resident tank girl, as Shotzi's recent storyline injury is being used to cover a real-life one. PW Insider's Mike Johnson is reporting, "For those who have asked about Shotzi's hand injury, we are told that there was a legitimate injury issue that led to the angle on SmackDown last week. Shotzi was written off TV after Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler crushed her hand with a car door, with Shotzi claiming she's going to be sidelined for 6 weeks. No word on when she's actually expected back, but Wrestlelamia sends its wishes for a speedy recovery." Well guys, there you have it, the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know. Leave your comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and I'll see you next time for some more wrestling content.